welcome back to Sailing Vessel MIG. This is a little introduction I'm going to do to let you know what happened with my delivery. So what happened is my buddy Norman, who has Evie Mae, called me about a month ago, and he asked me to help him figure out the route he should take to take his boat from Houston, Texas, out at Galveston, and then across the Gulf of Mexico to Punta Gorda. And I immediately was like, okay, well, who's going with you? Because that's not a trip you want to solo. And he said, I was going to do it myself. And Norman has a lot of sailing experience on lakes and things, but no offshore experience at that point. And the Gulf of Mexico is kind of tricky. There are a few things that make it a little more difficult, especially to single hand. Number one, there's really no prevailing winds. They clock around and change all the time. You can get any direction within a few days, and especially this time of year, you get gales blowing through fairly often. And it's shallow. As you leave Galveston, it's pretty shallow, and then it gets deep farther out, but the waves stack up pretty good. And I knew this from another delivery that I had done into Galveston on a little boat. And so I was a little concerned about that. And then the other big thing is the Gulf of Mexico is pretty much owned by the oil fields, and they have left platforms all over out there. Hundreds, maybe thousands of platforms, and they're not little, they're big. And it's unbelievable. They're rusty old platforms. There's new ones. There's ones that have been recently decommissioned, and they are just left to litter the Gulf of Mexico. And really, somebody ought to do something about it, because it's just unbelievable. This body of water has been littered by the oil fields. And a lot of them are unmarked, unlit. Most of them are on Navionics. So Navionics does a pretty good job of marking them. But then there are so many of them that you have to go in and check your route and then mark them with a bigger mark so that you can really pay attention to where they're at. The long and the short of it is, you really don't want to single hand because you don't want to fall asleep. They don't have AIS markers. Some of them do if they're active, but the older ones don't. And their lights are burned out, so they're often not lit. You can hear they have a whistle thing that they've set up so that when the waves come up and down, it makes a whoa sound. But you have to be awake to listen for that. You can have a radar going with an alarm set on a radar, but it's just not a safe place to single hand, in my opinion. So I said to him, well, as he was saying this, my wife was sitting across from me, and we had it on speakerphone, and she just looked at me and went like that. She knew what I was thinking. And so I said to Norman, hey, I'll come and help you move the boat. And he agreed to just pay for my airfare and all the food, which I eat keto, so steak's expensive. But I was happy to do it. I was happy to do it for a few reasons. Number one, Norman is my buddy. I really, really like Norman. I have rarely met somebody that almost immediately I just get along with. We're just really good friends. And the other reason is Evie Mae is Mig's sister, and everything is so similar. So for me, it was like I get to sail my own boat in a way. And the differences are cool because there's interior differences and stuff like that was fun. And so I agreed to do this delivery with him. So now I've got maybe 3 or 4 videos of this delivery. Who knows, it might be more than that. I haven't made the videos yet. So this is the first one on the delivery of Evie Mae with my buddy Norman Swango. All right, here we are in Texas. I am here with Norman. There he is. And check out this little boat here. This is Evie Mae. This is Mig's sister. And I get to go with Norman, and we're taking Evie Mae to Florida.
Oh, there's my water. Excuse me.
Here she is.
In all her glory.
Beautiful. Oof. So this is the outside of Evie Mae. Check out these solar panels. That's exactly what I'm doing on Mig. And the little generator thing, what a genius idea that was. That really is great, isn't it?
I feel better.
Right on. There she is.
Yes, it is.
Thanks for bringing me along, Norman.
You're welcome. Can't wait to get started. It'll be fun.
It's going to be a hoot.
It is.
What about the sail pack? That's a really nice sail pack.
Sail pack is, since I had the sewing machine, I went ahead and ordered their kit for the sail bag, sail kit and all this, stack pack kind of thing. And I went ahead and sewed it, and the sail's now loose footed. It was down in here, but I made the bag so you can make it either way. So.
Which is great. That's how I like it too. And I've also ordered that. It's sitting at home waiting to be sewed. So I'm going to do the same thing, only mine will be green. By the way, we call them Christmas sisters because everything that is red on Evie Mae is green on Mig. So that's that's pretty cool.
Oh, port and starboard.
Notice he's got a little different Dodger.
It's a hard Dodger. And it came with the boat. I did not make that, and it's pretty cool. I think it adds some safety.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so then it's got the wraparound windscreen, which you can take off, right?
Yeah, that all comes off.
And you did that, or you re-sewed it?
I redid it. Everything. I didn't have the glass was already, the plastic was already cut and all that. I just kind of traced off the old one and put red.
And it looks like for your shore power, you your smart plugs. Was that there, or is that something you did?
That's for one of the first things I did was replace that because I had read that your basic RV type plugs they don't have the connectivity that the smart plugs do, so it builds up heat and resistance and causes boat fires. Big cause of boat fire. Have you have one on yours, Christopher?
I just have a regular 110 plug, you know.
Yeah, you do.
Shore power is for losers. You quote me on that. Shore power is for losers. Those of us that are anchored out, we don't need shore power. Actually,
it's nice to have.
Actually, I'm just kidding.
And it's very safe.
I'm just kidding because we, as we'll show you in a minute, both of us use generators to charge up both our 48 volt system and our 12 volt system. So I actually probably at some point will change to that as well. The one thing Christopher doesn't like is all these gas tanks on the side, but we're going offshore and hopefully we need to be able to use the motor. And neither Norman and I are anti-diesel. All you people that hate electric motors, neither of us are anti-diesel. We just don't like working on diesel motors. So so we have electric motors, and for the most part our solar system takes care of our needs. Well, we assume.
We're going to find out.
So we have generators, and we're okay with that. He has a Honda generator that runs on gasoline, and it should keep his 48 volt system up and running. If we're figuring 3 knots. We should be able to motor at 3 knots as long as that generator is going. So that's why we have some gasoline on the foredeck. And you also notice that Norman does have one diesel tank, and we'll show you why. Stay tuned. Oh, Norman, what should they do if they are just watching this video and they have never subscribed to Sailing Vessel Mig?
You must subscribe, like, and share it with your friends.
You really should, because this video is going to come out before next week's video, and next week's video has Norman and I in the car driving, eating ice cream on the interstate, and that's worth it. If for no other reason, that's worth it. All right, let's talk about your solar system here.
All right, we have quite an array of solars going on here. We'll start with the 12 volt. I bought these panels off of Amazon. Just when I first bought the boat and everything, and that was before the electric motor idea and all that. This is just two 12 volt panels.
They're 100 watts, right?
Yeah, 100 watt each.
And before any of you start on with the whole, oh, you got those panels are already looking bad and they're not going to last very long because they're the flexible panels. He knows that, and he's going to replace them with, when these ones are no longer good, he may as well use them until they're no good. He's going to replace them with
a rigid panel.
Yeah.
So not now. I got the nice wood frame for it. They're pretty sturdy. I know a big wave will rip them off, but you know.
And these are the wood is cedar, so it's not going to rot. He's coated the cedar with epoxy and then painted it, so they'll last a long time as long as he doesn't go out there in the stuff that Jerome Rand went out in on sailing into oblivion. Then all this is gone.
Yeah, it's all gone.
And we're all, and we know, you know, like for instance, right now we could go sailing, but there's 40 knots in a few days, and we're not going to do that.
Who wants to do that? Nobody.
All right, so tell me about these panels, the 48 volt system.
Okay, I bought these. Were also an idea from a friend of mine named Christopher. He says, "Hey, I got an idea. If you need, we need to spend some more of your money. So here we go." I think this is custom marine product, is that?
Yeah, I think so. I'll put a link in the description for these guys because
but
they are pretty cool.
Yeah, they sell the whole system, the panels, the posts and everything, and there's some supports on there that come with the kit and everything. But they're two 170 watt panels.
175, I think.
175?
Right?
Okay,
yeah.
I don't remember exactly. Okay, and then but the cool thing about them is they will tilt this way or this way.
How difficult is it to show them?
It's not difficult at all.
We're going to show you what these do, and this is what's cool about this system, and why we chose this over like a rigid arch, which would have been difficult anyway to do on a canoe stern boat. But you pull this little pin out.
Pull the pin out there, and it should just articulate. It's kind of snug, so it don't just flop around. So
which is good. But see, you can angle it
either way, whichever way the sun.
And then, what if the sun's over there?
Oh my God! You hurry up and just rotate it around whichever way.
You can turn the whole thing independently, and you can angle both of them. So, because both of them do that.
Yeah.
So, it's a pretty cool deal. That was a little scary. And then the only thing I'm going to do different, and Norm might do this as well, I'm going to put a connector piece of stainless between the two, kind of make an H right there, just to give a little more rigidity between the two panels. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So it's mounted on the deck on a ball joint, and then it's connected to the rails as well.
Yeah, you got to connect. We had to make a special little bracket here for it, for this bottom support thing here, and then like you said, it sits on that little ball down there, a little nylon type ball, and then it just everything's holds it in place, so you can just spin it.
And he's already been in 50 knot winds with this.
Yeah, these are definitely good to 50 knots, and they move a little, but they don't want to fall off or nothing. So.
And if you're out there in 50 knots, you made a mistake in the first place, but you know, the last thing you're really worried about at that point is the solar panel. Wow, I like your generator box.
Isn't that cool?
That's really a great idea.
I came up with that all by myself. Not really. I lied.
Where'd you get that idea?
My buddy Christopher, the guy likes to spend my money.
Sailing vessel MIG.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing on MIG too. Same basic idea. I may make some improvements. That's what I do. You know, I give him an idea, he tries it, and then I fix up everything.
Yeah.
So he mounted it to the monitor with these legs that come down and bolt through.
All those are.
And I was originally going to do an angled one down to the holes that are already there, but this is much more secure. And the other way, you didn't get enough movement in the tiller and the rudder, right?
Tiller would hit it, so we had to come up with plan B.
Tell me about your self-steering wind vane. What is it?
That is a monitor wind vane, and
brand new one, by the way.
I bought it about probably 3.5 years ago, and took a while before I was ready to install it. But once I did,
I thought they didn't have any electric to them. What's that little electric deal hooked up to the back of your monitor?
Yeah, crazy thing is they come up. You also have a regular monitor, wind vane, or not wind vane, but
tiller pilot.
The tiller pilot. But they invented that little thing, and it uses like 1 amp or less.
Yeah, nothing.
To operate. It does the same thing that the wind paddle will do to the pendulum thing and all that, but
it steers the boat on a compass course like an autopilot instead of using the wind. And so for hardly any draw on your batteries, you can steer your boat with that. So at this point, we've told you about 2 ways Norman has for steering his boat without being at the helm. It's the monitor wind vane when the wind's blowing nice, and then he's got this little pelagiac, it makes that.
Yeah, pelagic,
And then he also has a regular tiller pilot that he can hook up, and it hooks up over here, right?
Yeah, since the deck kind of curves off a little bit here, so I built a little platform, and it fits right in there, and then you can see the bottom of the tiller over there that it all connects in with these little ropes.
So he's got three modes of self-steering, which is really awesome. Okay, then let's go into the cockpit and let's talk about the aft cabin real quick.
Yes.
We need to discuss the aft cabin. So it's just like Mig's aft cabin, but this is a newer boat. So there are some things about it that are a lot nicer. You know, having looked now at my boat, which is one of the old ones built in the 70s, and I'll edit it out if it's wrong, but I think mine are built by Heritage Marine, right? And then yours were built, or was mine built by North Sea originally, and then yours were Heritage Marine? The newer ones were built in the late 80s and 90s, I think. Yeah. I'll check that. Or if I'm wrong, Robert, you can comment and let us know the truth. That's fine. We like comments. Of course, you'll have to post the video on the North Sea site. So notice this is another thing about this, having this chart plotter that swings in and out. When you're not underway and you want to use the head, that thing is in the way. The whole thing's got to move. It's kind of a pain, in my opinion. But here you go, Norman. Take the camera, show them your head, and walk through what you use for a head and whatnot. Okay, well, what we did, it had just your standard wet head type thing, and it had an old, behind this bulkhead here, there was a big bag, and I just did not like the idea of having a bunch of crap in a big old rubber bag behind there, so I went ahead and purchased the airhead, and it seems to be, it works real good. Like they say in it, I can't smell it. Like they say in the commercials or the ads and everything, it don't stink, and it doesn't. It's got a little vent I went through up here, drilled a hole in the top up there, and you can see up here. Yeah, and that's the other thing, by the way. This head has been used. Yeah. And that vent is right there. Yeah. And I can't smell anything. Yeah. I'm sitting right beside it. Yeah. There's no smell out here either. So. Yeah. So if you know how the airheads work, you know they got a little vent down here and the fan, little computer fan type thing up in here that kind of sucks it all out. And what are you gonna put on that wall right there? That empty wall. I don't know if you saw Christopher's wall here. He's got a real cool setup of how he's got his tools and stuff are stored. I'm going to make mine out of that brown duck canvas that you can get from Sailrite, and that wax canvas, and kind of make a little tool bag and just different kind of things to hang up on there. That'd be pretty cool. And you have, yours is a little different than mine. You got a sink in there. Yeah, I have a sink. It's kind of buried by towels and some other crap right now, but I have the sink. I didn't, it still got the hose hooked up to it, and I did keep the through hole for it.
I did block off the other 2 through holes for the old wet head and all that, and it's got a little storage back in there for toilet paper and stuff, and yeah.
Kind of overkill having that sink, don't you think?
Yeah, I do not need the sink. I don't know. There's no way to use that sink. So, I mean, we'll probably, if we use the sink, it'll just be the galley sink and all that. So
on MIG, if you've looked at my videos on the head and stuff, you'll see that I basically, where that sink is, I've turned that into a storage area where I put my my bigger tool stuff, and it works really well for me. So let's talk about storage in the galley. Besides the fridge,
yeah,
he's got a little cupboard back here.
Little cupboard back there. It's got some sailing gear, little safety gear,
and it's nice and deep.
Tools. It's really deep.
It's much better than mine. Mine doesn't really have any good galley storage.
Yeah,
but
there's little storage back behind here that's got just odds and ends.
And it's pretty deep.
It's pretty deep.
I mean, it's angled like this, but it's still pretty deep.
Same. And this one here is just open, and it's got some kitchen kind of stuff, and it does have a drain in it that drains into the galley kitchen sink area right here.
And that's really cool. So. And that sink, why don't you take the stuff out of there and show us, because I'm impressed with the sink. I really am. It is it's got a lot of these are our offshore lunch things. We call them squirrel packs, my wife and I.
Right.
And our eggs are stored in there right now because you do not need to refrigerate eggs.
You're gonna have the world.
I know. Let them. Because I know this.
They're gonna eat you alive.
And you don't need to rub your eggs and massage petroleum jelly into them. You don't need to turn them every day. You don't need to spray them with epoxy. All you have to do is buy them, and they can be refrigerated beforehand. They don't have to be farm fresh eggs. I'm telling you. I know for a fact, from experience for years, that you can buy them from the grocery store, keep them on your boat for almost a month without doing anything to them, and you just make sure that you break each egg separate into a bowl, because occasionally, like on our 38-day passage, I think we had maybe 2 or 3 eggs that were bad, and it's not a surprise. It's not like you're going to accidentally eat a bad egg. You break a bad egg, you don't go, maybe. You throw it overboard quick, so it works fine. So don't worry about it. Here, take this and show them the depth of that.
Yeah,
sink.
we got a big sink here. It's probably at least 12 inches deep. So
it's fantastic.
It's really great.
Why do you have two pumps there?
Got 2 pumps. We got a saltwater pump and a saltwater faucet there, and then the through holes in there, and then we got the foot pump for that right there, and then we got a freshwater hooked up to the 2 20-gallon tanks in the back cabin, and then there's the foot pump for that as well.
And then he's got storage under the stove, and he's got storage under there. We're not going to open them because they're ready for offshore, and they're full. Yeah. But turn around and show them. Go ahead and open that one down there, because it surprised me. This thing is giant. Like
this goes all the way back to the hull. I mean, it holds a ton of stuff.
And our friend Aaron Parker, who has he's refitting in North Sea right now, he has put a slide out like Dometic. I don't know if it's Dometic, but refrigerator freezer in there, and it slides out, and it fits in there. It's pretty great. And then he made his nav station a little bigger here. It's pretty cool what he's done as well. That's your nav station, right?
Yeah, what we have here is a nav station. We got a few little books and paper charts and kind of stuff that would go underneath here. And then I've got a ICOM 7300 ham radio, and I've got your VHF radio here. I've got the AIS S Vesper XBA 8000 back in there. And then I've got some other odds and ends for charging and everything back in there as well. But then I got all the manuals and kind of crap stuffed up in there at the moment. So
this
one of my favorite
people. I got to tell you, this is amazing, and I would do this.
One of my favorite things, and I bought this a long time ago. I wasn't sure it had an old compressed natural gas kind of just 2-burner top stove thing here.
Not propane.
Not propane.
Compressed natural gas.
CNG. I had the tank up there underneath, behind that settee. Looked like a little scuba tank, but it just didn't look safe to me. So I thought, and I'd asked around to some other people on the North Sea sites, and somebody suggested the diesel stove. So I did some research, and Wallace diesel stove out of I think out of the Northwest. I can't remember exactly where, but somewhere around Seattle. Anyway, so he said it's a heater and a cooktop. So
look at that. It looks like
it's glass top.
Yeah, looks like it's a electric cooktop.
Yeah,
convection cooktop.
The flame is completely contained inside the box, and then it exhausts all the fumes and everything out through this stack right here.
And that thing does not get too hot. It gets hot, but hot enough that you can still touch it. As a matter of fact, in the Pacific Northwest, when it's cold and you're using this as a heater, you use that as a hand warmer. You just come up and warm your hands up on it. It's pretty cool.
What it has is, for the exhaust, it's got a 1-inch stainless flexible tubing thing, and then so it runs through here and end up through here. But what I did to mitigate the heat getting too hot was I wrapped it in that muffler insulation type stuff, or engine heater stuff, and I wrapped the whole thing all through it, so that helps it not get too hot to your
How'd you get such a nice bended pipe that looks like it was made perfectly for this boat?
Well, I took it down to the local muffler shop there in Midland, Texas, and I said, can you build me something like this? And he goes, yeah, we can bend it and everything. So I went ahead and figured out what size I needed to get the tube to go through,
and it is stainless.
And this is what 3/16 stainless. And once I got the tubing in, I took it down there, and I had a little mock-up thing of something, and then we put it on the muffler tube bender rack thing, and he bent it, and then we just laid a pattern on it till we got close enough, and then I just kind of brought it to the boat and kind of cut it in a little bit long, so I just kept having to wheel it down till it fit perfect, and then I welded everything up. And
it is really cool. I mean,
but it's cool. Yeah.
I would have never thought that this would be something that I would be interested in, but having used it now, last night we made keto, we made steaks, and man, it was great. I cooked on that thing, and
it does not
really good.
Yeah,
no gimbal.
It doesn't gimbal, but it does have the little pot holder things you can stick on the side, and it holds it from sliding around. But
and you could gimbal it. It's not like it has to be, right, like it is.
Yeah, you could make it that way somehow.
You could put it on, you could do what the guy on Tretea did, and take an old propane stainless steel stove that you're not using anymore, and you could transfer that into it, and you could even then have an oven or whatever, or put a convection oven underneath, because it does use electric. It uses 12 volt to power the blower and all that stuff, and it also works as a heater, so yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a little squirrel cage back in here that spins. Even when you're just cooking, it'll still blow, but when you lower the lid down, you can feel the heat blowing right out from there.
It's really cool. All right, so for this passage, we're ready to go on our passage. Oh, he's got a little spice rack thing happening here. We're gonna see how that works. Obviously offshore we're gonna have to do something different, maybe put it in a box there or something, but I was suggesting that either here or behind his stove he kind of do the same thing I did with the magnetic deal, which works pretty good. He likes his little red.
I like the red tile, but
yeah, maybe
someday it'll move. This is where the old heater used to be,
and it is cool. So I have all my stuff stowed right up along here, and then there's storage back here, and there's a lot of storage actually. So all my stuff for this trip is back here, including my foul weather gear right now, and those go all the way here. There's another one here, I'm not going to pull it off, and then he's got one here, little bin there, and then the same thing on this side, and then his lee cloths, he made these. Why am I talking? You tell about your...
Yeah. Well, watching Topher's video here a few videos ago, I can't remember which one it was, but when he was talking about building his curtains and his lee cloths and all that, I thought, man, and then I found out he was going to be coming with me on the trip, to Florida anyway. So I thought I got to get 2 lee cloths built up now. So I went ahead and fired up my Sailrite and kind of copied his ideas and everything. And then the other day we needed some of this foam for something, so we stuck it on top of the
we stuck the leftover pieces on mine, and I was like, oh, that's pretty nice. so we went and got another one.
Then we went to Home Depot and had to get me one too, since I'm the captain, real captain.
And I'm absolutely gonna do this on mine, because you know it's nice. Then if you can, if it's just the rope, it's a little rough on your leg when you're laying here like this. Well, and even leaning against it, it's just nice. Yeah. This is a cool idea. So,
so this is mine over here, and it fits. You're not gonna roll around at sea, that's for sure.
And then we have storage underneath these.
Got some, there's storage underneath. There's 2 sets of little open hatch things underneath each berth or bunk right now.
So there's storage under here. There's storage under there, right?
Yes, there's storage under there. That's where I got all my nuts and bolts and screws and everything. Spare deals are up under here.
And he's got inserts for this area, so you can make this into a big bed.
Yeah.
If you want to.
When I first moved down here, and back in November, there's 4 boards that fit in here, and then I have a cushion built for it. And so I didn't have the lee cloth. I just had the whole. It's a queen size bed basically, is what it is.
Really nice.
So it is pretty cool.
And then go up and show them that.
Then if you look inside my chain locker, it's pretty big.
I
think I got a light over here. Huh?
Kind of filled with the stuff.
We've got it filled back up right now, but when he first got here, I had it filled to the top, and there's no way if I needed to get to the chain or anything, I could even come close to getting to it. And I've got there's a light there, and then I've got some electronics for the anchor windlasses down there on the right too.
And he's got his sea anchor there, all of his rode, his chain, everything. Actually, his big Mantis anchor breaks down into pieces, and he's got his Mantis storm anchor up there as well. And it's all down low. So we took out. It had a floor area, and we took that out because there was a lot of wasted storage space, and there was no reason to have that wasted space. So we removed that, and now he's able to store that heavy stuff all the way down low, and it's really pretty great.
Yeah, so now if we get back there, need to get there in an emergency, we can just pull out my guitar and then crawl back in there.
You can pull out the guitar and I'll play it.
Yeah.
All right, I believe that is the tour of Evie Mae. And there's a table also that you.
Yeah.
He doesn't have it in here, but there's a table that goes here, right?
Yeah. When I first bought the boat, there back in here, there was a shelf built here, and the table unfolded to here, but the thing is not long enough for me to sleep in, so I just removed the table and the shelf. And
I think if this was my boat, I would do exactly what he did. I wouldn't have a table. If I did, I would have a little table that went up this like Mig's, that just went like right here, you know, that you could lower, and then you'd have a little table right here. I would do that probably exactly like Mig's, only smaller. And then I would put cushions on each side like you have here, and a cushion for the back right there. Yeah. And then you'd have a really nice full wraparound area, especially when you had your bed down here. It'd just be super comfortable. I like it a lot. It's different than Mig. I like Mig better, but I like this. So stay tuned next week. By the way, if you've watched all of this and you haven't subscribed, shame. You should subscribe and like my video, please. I really am trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before I go sailing, and I know I'm not going to get much from the AdSense video, but if you guys are watching it and you have to sit through the videos anyway, or even skip through them, you may as well let me have a little bit of money from it. I'm also doing Patreon soon, and I'll have that on there. And then the other thing that I'd like to say is next week, stay tuned for next week, because next week you get to hear Norman's story, and it is a great story about how he came to this lifestyle and why he chose the North Sea 27. And you may as well hear somebody else's story for why they chose this awesome little boat. So stay tuned next week. Come back next week and see about Norman's story.
Thanks a lot for watching. Take care. Stay tuned next week for Norman's story and also for our provisioning trip and all that stuff, getting ready for this delivery. Thanks a lot for watching.